I'm going to take a few minutes and go over some of these statistic sheets to keep out. Some of them are absolutely important. These sheets specifically are going to help to increase dollar per visit and know what direction to do that for. I mean, you have to keep statistics to know where to go and be proactive with your systems. So let's walk into some of these sheets and when we start evaluating them, we start collecting the data and start evaluating them. This is how we make decisions on where and how we want to move our practice instead of just letting things happen to us. So this is how you can be in control of your income and where you're going. First, you have to know the information. So this is a really good sheet. It's a reimbursement statistic sheet, and it should be done about twice a year. You should fill this out at least twice a year. And what you're doing is evaluating who's paying you, who's not paying you, and how much you're getting paid. Well, that's going to be a major decision in services you do or don't want to offer, and whether you want to deal with certain insurance companies or not. And where is it going to push your marketing? Your marketing, you could obviously look at these statistics and move away from some areas that aren't paying as well, or modify them accordingly to get them up to speed, or actually move into a direction where there's better payment. And I'll give you an example with one client how we did this. We did this, and we noticed that one of the insurance that paid well, so they paid the therapies and they paid well. The UCR was good. And we knew this through doing the evaluation. It was much better than the other insurance companies. Well, it turned out to be it was the insurance company for the local teachers union. So all the teachers in that county had this insurance. And so we kind of came upon it by doing this evaluation. And so we totally put a marketing plan. We literally did a teacher marketing strategy. So we put together several marketing strategies just for teachers and helping teachers. And that significantly increased his, not just his income, but his dollar per visit collection. That's just an example of how this can be used. Another example is in a negative light. A lot of times these insurance companies don't pay x-rays to local offices. They make you send them, they'll contract with like local MRI centers. This is more prevalent in like the inner cities. Well, you can go, that's like doctors will ask me, they'll say, well, do you think I should get an x-ray machine? Well, the first thing you do is you go, well, how many potential x-rays are you taking? So you go, how many new patients, how many potential x-rays would you have taken? What would have been the cost per x-ray? And what would be what would be the reimbursement for those x-rays? Well, that will give you the gross collections. Well, now you take the gross collections times the cost of the implementation of the x-ray machine, and that tells you whether or not it would be a profit center and worth doing or not. So a lot of offices, to be honest with you, especially if they don't do much or any personal injury, an x-ray machine is really worthless, especially in these inner cities. In other words, it's a negative revenue generator. So of course there's other factors, but if you're in an inner city and they're not covering x-rays in your area, even though you're on the insurance plan and you got to send them out to the MRI center, you may want to reevaluate the monetary position of that, especially nowadays with digital. I mean, you can have digital x-ray, depending on how you get it. It might cost $20, $30, $40,000. That just might not be worth it, you know? Same with space. Then you'll just even save the space. You can even utilize that space for other services that are productive instead of dead or losing money. So these are ways. So what you want to do, this is the reimbursement stats. And then you just fill it out relative to your insurance. So on the top, from left to right, you just put all the insurance payers you're dealing with. Now, yours will be different. You may not have Humana in your area or Blue Cross Blue Shield so whatever yours are, put them in there left to right on a grid like this. And on the left-hand side, you're gonna put all your codes, all your services. Now, I wrote here consultation. I just wrote one code for the consultation. You may have two or three different codes depending on the degree of consultation. If you do, then include them. So if you offer three different types of consultations, then include it. Put the code in there. Same with examinations. Most chiropractors only do really two types of exams. So if you're doing three or something more, something like that, then put them in there. So each you have the code for each respective exam, and then list all your X-rays. You know, your AP, lateral, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, obliques, lateral flexion. Just list them all of them that you take, and put the code in for that. There you go. So that's your X-rays. Same with your adjustment. Some chiropractors will adjust more than one segment, not just the spine or the extremity. So here, if you're doing more than one spinal adjustment, I just have two listed here, but if you're doing three, put in here three instead of two. And if you're commonly doing more than two extremities, just add it in. And then add in any other services. So this is a simple table that you can easily create with your Word document. It's creating the table. So find out how many of these columns and rows you're going to need. So find out how many rows you're going to need based on all your different insurance payers. Then list all your services from the consultation to the exams to the adjustment to maybe you sell cervical pillows and orthotics and things like that. So list all those, and that'll tell you how many rows and columns you need. Okay, and then what you do is just put in here, and your insurance person should do this. They're familiar with all this. Put in each block what you charge versus UCR, what's getting paid. That's what you want to do. Each block. So like in this first block here, where it says Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it says consultation code. So I would put the fee that we're charging, and then it'd be slash what's being paid. What's the UCR? So there's two numbers you're going to want in here. You fill all of these out, and then you step back and look at them. And we're going to compartmentalize and go, okay, let's look at each insurance company. What's getting paid? What's the UCR relative to what we do? So you may see something that's getting paid that maybe you're not doing or you're not doing enough of, see? So you can move your practice to in alignment with reimbursement to increase reimbursement. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is you're seeing maybe certain areas are getting paid more, then you want to emphasize those areas. Maybe you see some areas aren't getting paid very well, like I gave the example of X-ray. You might want to consider ditching your X-ray machine. You know, if you do a cost benefit analysis, a lot of times, today they're not. Well, we open offices now without X-ray machines. Most of the time it's worth it for our offices because we'll incorporate a certain degree of personal injury, and they do pay for X-rays. It's not limited like some of the plans are, some of the major medical plans. So that's what you're looking at here. Same with the different adjustments. I remember one doctor we did this with one doctor, and he did not realize how much they paid for adjustments, not adjustments, extremities. And he wasn't even paying attention very much to extremities, or he would do them, but he wouldn't charge. He would just like work it up and he would just include it as part of the spinal adjustment. Well, as soon as he saw how much they were getting paid for extremities, he decided to go ahead and document it. He was doing it anyway. So he started documenting it and submitting it. And that was a nice little step up in dollar per visit collection per patient. See? So these are ways to start controlling. And then some doctors are big on different plans, whether they'll add in supplements or a brace. Some doctors just generally will routinely give patient like a TENS unit, some supplements, and a brace. That's like part of their routine for a spinal type trauma. Well, that they did that because they saw the reimbursement. And of course, the patient needs it. So that was a nice little bump up in dollar per visit collection. So these are all the ways, but you'll never know if you don't pay attention to each of these services that you do and all the different payment types that you have. Usually in major medical, there's no more than 5 to 7. Most PIs are the same in payment wise. And then same with Medicare is its own animal. And then get all this data and look at it and go, well, wait a minute, if you're, if there's a greater payment in one particular category, and we can, kind of like that teachers association, we noticed that there was way better payment. Well, we specifically put in a marketing plan just for that that segment of patients. Same with the X-ray if you need to eliminate it, or if you got any other services that you're doing that aren't getting paid. Remember, you should never do something you're not getting paid for. You should be substituting it with something you're getting paid for. I've had doctors do cold packs and didn't charge. I'm like, no, you got electricity, you got labor, you got space, you got time. All of that was taken up and you're not charging for it? No. They can just do that at home. They can just do that at home. You do much better to do an active or passive therapy or see another patient for that time. So anyway, so here you go. So same with the X-rays. You get an idea of, is it worthwhile? You may look at this relative to your cost and go, you know what? Like maybe you have to have, maybe you're in a state where, a staff member has to be trained to do the X-rays, so you got that cost. Maybe you have digital X-rays, so it's more cost. And then you look at it and you go, well, there's little to no reimbursement for this. And you may look at it and go, that's a lot of, even though it might be marginal profit, you go, that's a lot of effort for marginal profit that I could substitute out for seeing more patients where that space is and utilize that space better. I specifically did that with massage. We brought in massage, see how it would work, ran it for about 6 months. How many new patients did I get from the massage therapist? 1. They don't know how to, none of these other people know how to bring in business, whether you hire a physician's assistant or you try to do the medical doctor. Everybody thinks they're going to bring in business. I'm like, no, they're not. They don't know how to do business. They just know how to do what they do. So I had 1 patient in 6 months. She took up 1 room and she took it up for an hour. And the reimbursement, I think I split the fee 50-50 with her. So I was losing, the office was occupied for an hour. Well, how many patients could I see in that room? I could see way more than 1. And I got 100% from that 1, where I was splitting it with her. She only got 50%. And that was the end of the relationship. And we terminated massage and sent it out. And I filled that space with visits. So now I'm getting 2, 3, 4 visits out of there, 5 in an hour, and keeping 100% of that revenue versus 1 person and 50% of that revenue. See, this is the purpose of this. So make sure your staff member fills this out. And if you want help interpreting it, let me know. But this is how you'll help to determine if you want to eliminate some services, if you want to add more services, maybe start incorporating, like I said, with the extremities that help that doctor, the type of insurance that helped that doctor. The personal injury was good. We had 1 doctor who did not have an X-ray machine, and the major medical pretty much didn't pay, but they would get 10 PI cases a month. I'm going, wow, do the math. Well, how many X-rays would a typical PI patient get? Davis series, AP lateral lobe, whatever, then multiply that out times the cost, then multiply that out times 10. Well, he was losing $50,000 a year by not doing the x-rays in that case, even though the major medicals did not cover it. So he was losing money. So I said, no, you definitely need to get an x-ray. That's a nice little profit center. So it can go either way, but this is how you tighten the ship up and move it to more and higher reimbursable services and fees and marketing, and start moving away from the things that are getting cut and reduced or not paid at all. One last story. I had a patient who was doing a hot pack. I went in there and it was like walking into a 1950s office. He had 3 rooms. That's it. Did the therapies in the room, which was a terrible layout, waste a ton of time. And he was doing hot packs, and he didn't have assistant. He was doing it. So he had to take the hot packs out, put them on the patient. Then the patient took up the room the whole time. He couldn't put anybody else in the room to adjust them. Then he, labor, had to take them off, put the hot packs on. Then he had to take that hot pack towel, put it over the thing there, so help dry it out, and adjust the patient. This was in one room. And he was wondering why he was only seeing like 30 visits a week. I said, it doesn't matter what marketing you do, you don't have the ability. You don't even have the ability. And the hot packs weren't even paid. So I go, no, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop doing hot packs. That's wasting a lot of your time and labor, and you're not getting paid. They can use a hot pack at home if you want them to, or a cold pack. And then that frees up this room to see more patients. So you're only going to do the adjustments out of the room. So they're in there for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, not for 25, because there's something called industrial hours. Majority of patients come in after work 4 to 6. You tie up a room for 25 minutes. You can only see 3 people in that room in 1 hour. That's it. So we had this big waiting room, just wasted space. We turned that into the therapy bay. Everybody got therapy on the therapy bay, and the therapies were charged now. We didn't do hot packs, cold packs. We got rid of them, saved the labor, saved the cost. Then we did intersegmental traction, stem, and some active therapies. So now we had 3 paying active therapies, and he had 3 rooms to adjust in. So each patient was in the room for 3, 4, no more than 5 minutes. So instead of only seeing 3 patients in 25 minutes, he could now see 3, 9, 10, 12. And those simple procedures right there, what I just shared with you, increased his business $150,000. Those simple procedures right there. Just by knowing who's getting paid, what's getting paid, where's the time and money being spent, better flow, eliminate the stuff that's not getting paid, bring in the stuff that will get paid. It was just that simple. And that with that doctor, that didn't even include marketing. That was just restructuring them and cleaning up his patient education. He had bad patient education too. But that included no more marketing. He increased his business $150,000. Now, what was more remarkable with this doctor is he had a home office, and $150,000 in a home office is 99% profit. That'd be like a doctor out in the real world increasing his practice $300,000 with a 50% overhead. That was a significant financial jump for him and his family. So make sure you do this. Should be done every 6 months to evaluate where you're at. Do you need to move the practice and some other services? Do you need to move away from some? I did this with one healthcare provider. I did this analysis one time, and it turns out that the out-of-network paid 4 times better than in-network. So I'd have to see 4 patients that were in network to make the same money with 1 patient out of network. Well, that was an easy decision. I'm like, we're going to just do it out of network. So I'm totally willing to give up. Even if I broke even and saw 1 patient out of network, I'm still saving a lot of time, and I have the ability to make more money because I saved that time to see other patients. So that's when we got out on network. I'm like, no, I'll free up my time more to see other patients. Instead of wasting my time seeing in-network patients and making 25% of what I could have with another provider or another payment system. And so, boom, that was one reason we got out of network. And that was another jump. See, all these make a difference. You start paying attention to all this. Your patient flow, room, services, reimbursement, because you have limited time. You do not have 8 hours a day. If you're open from 9 to 6, you do not have 8 hours a day. Patients come in during what's called industrial hours, 4 to 6, 9 to 10:30, and like 2 to 2:30. That's it. The regular patients just can't come in anytime during the day. It's not how it works with chiropractic. If they were only coming in once, sure, but that's not how it works with chiropractic. They got to work around their schedule to be able to come in 3 times twice a week. So you really only have 4 hours a day, not 8, to see patients, which means you better be really efficient. Your layout's got to be efficient. You've got to be efficient. And then your services, you want to get, maximum payment for your services for the time and unit of energy that you're there. So these are multiple things you want to look at that will significantly increase your revenue. And I'm talking about not even adding any other marketing systems. So you always want to do this, do it about every 6 months and take a look at it and then use this as a guidepost of where you want to add maybe more services, where you want to eliminate services, and even with your marketing plan. You might want to start marketing in some other areas because of the reimbursement specifically. So have your staff do this, evaluate it. And if you have any questions, I'll evaluate it with you. Like I did with several of those other doctors, and boom, just increased their gross receipts over $100,000 just from this simple evaluation and knowing how to interpret it. That's it.